in just, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Oh, we're not live yet. Now we are, I think. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Business Our Way in Women Empowered in Cannabis Supply Chain Community. We're excited to be with you here on Sunday. I hope you are all finding yourselves well and safe. I know that there's a lot of conflict in opinion and much information coming in. I ask all of you just to sit with yourselves and really discern what's coming in through your own internal wisdom. And today we are going to get to talk to someone who is building her community, her business, her world, her way through that internal wisdom. And I would like to welcome Shadi with us this morning. Welcome, Shadi. Thank you for joining us.
Hey there. I missed all that.
I was just saying welcome, and that I think right now we need to have a lot of internal reflection, and that you've been developing your world, your business with a lot of those sort of wisdoms, which is why we're here today to talk.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. So we're having some technical issues. We're going to try to get through this. If we have a problem, we're recording. Just bear with us. But let's dive into my first question, which always brings out such great information, is Shadi, how did you come to cannabis? What is your journey around our beloved plant?
My journey started when I was 15 with some homies in Fairfax, Virginia, where I grew up. And it was like something that druggies did. Like there was like these different, very distinct groups of people in high school, and the druggies, like stoners, you know, there was these group of people who had bud, and I kind of floated around in high school and liked to connect with different people. And so my first time experiencing cannabis was then when I was 15. And since then, you know, and then in my early, my young adulthood into my early teens, early 20s, it became kind of like a big part of my lifestyle. Like very much into the counterculture. I was going to see the Grateful Dead play, and I was really into psychedelics, and I was experimenting with all of that, and first generation Persian person. So it was really hard for my family to like understand me. They didn't know what I was. Like just didn't know what to do. They didn't know what I was or what I was doing. And so it was kind of interesting to come from like that shadow space of it. You know, I definitely always spoke my mind and have been insubordinate before it was cool, but you know, but in seriousness, it was very taboo, and it was definitely taboo being a Persian person, a teenager doing that. And since then, you know, I've had on and off relationships with it. There was like a decade when I didn't smoke while I was like having babies and I was at home a lot. I just wasn't doing that. And then, you know, kind of just picking it back up again, you know, in the last 7 years. And now it's like a really big part of my life. I've used it as a portal all since I was 15, so for the past 30 years, used it as a portal, and I still use it now in terms of like creativity, downloads, connecting to source and spirit. It's like, that's really powerful for me. It's had a lot of impact on my work. And in 2014, was making some life changes and transitioning, and was like really interested in getting involved in the THC cannabis space with a dispensary, with a friend, a partner. And then it was, you know, like, wow, this is super cost prohibitive. Even then, it was like you still really needed a good $750,000 to get in there. And we didn't know about investments and investors and vultures and all of these kinds of things. And so we were like, somebody called me, because I used to have like a vegan food product I sold at the farmer's market. I've been a chef for a really long time. And someone was like, someone's making hemp coffee. And I was like, what is that? So we went and we saw like the worst farm we've ever seen in our whole lives of growing anything. And we were like, what? We could do that, you know? So at that point, I I was like a staunch advocate of like local food systems, organic food back then. And non-GMO had really hit my radar. And there was a ballot initiative in 2014 in Colorado to just get GMOs labeled in Colorado. And I got really active in that. And I was really into like anti-fracking around then, like lots of activism work, like as a mother, you know, looking at these things that I never even thought about before. And I had made a body cream because I wanted to because then it hit my radar about GMOs on our skin and our skin's our biggest organ and all this. And so I was like, I'm going to make a body cream that we can eat that's vegan. And that was in 2014, 2015, started growing hemp, got a hemp license. And so I was like with the plant every day. And then I was like, I'm going to change the recipe and make it really hemp centric and everything. And started working with being able to eat and consume low THC cannabis on a daily basis in different forms and create with it. And so I made this cream, and then we were like, oh shit, it's a sex cream. You know, it's like one of those awesome accidents, you know? And yeah, so lots of like hard R&D and suffered through that, and then took it to NOCO Hemp Expo in 2017. And in the morning, my sister was like smoking a joint, and she's like, Hemptimacy. And I was like, what? That's amazing. I had just like my company logo. So I just like wrote #Hemptimacy on like a piece of paper, framed it super ghetto, and went to this expo. And it ended up getting like in a really great write-up in Westward as like one of the companies that they mentioned out of like less than 10, I think, 10 or 11. Then it got like on the evening news. And then I was like kind of catapulted into this space in the industry with this company that I kind of wasn't even trying to do around body care. And so that is like really my entrance into just the industry in general was 2014, 15. And so I've been here ever since, you know. It's been a pretty intense 6 years, you know.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, because that's some big leaps that you made, some you know, from one point to the next. And where are you at now with the plant? What are you, or are you? I see a lot of mushrooms on your feed.
Yeah, I love mushrooms so much. I mean, I liked mushrooms since my early 20s also. And as a foodie and somebody who has like been on and off plant-based pretty much my whole adult life, you know, like really into plant-based food in general. But yeah, I'm super into the plant. I mean, I grew 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. I moved my farm. So I have like a little new farmette. And this year we're just going to be growing straight up cannabis THC, you know, some really big, happy, beautiful plants, not really dealing with the hemp licensing and kind of like that oversight and bullshit. I'm not interested in really that.
Wait a second. Wait a second. So let's go back a minute. What state are you in?
Colorado.
Okay, so in Colorado, it's easier for you to grow a few personal plants, cannabis plants, than it is for you to grow hemp.
Yes, and that's the funny thing is that actually hemp is less free in Colorado in many ways than just straight up cannabis THC. Because for a hemp license now, it's like $500. And they've come quite a long way in the last 5 years, 6 years about the licensing in general, but it's really like a bureaucratic mire of like bullshit. And the CDA, Colorado Department of Ag, really having like an uncomfortable presence in the life of a farmer around a plant. And so you have to pay the $500. You put your GPS like lat long, so they know exactly like where your crop is. And yeah, interestingly enough, with just straight up THC plants, you're allowed to have 6 plants per adult. And something I'm not sure about what I'm going to say next is I'm not sure if it caps around 12 plants.
Yeah, that's
like,
how it is.
Just be like, oh, Johnny lives here and like Uncle Bob too, you know, and keep adding plants. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm interested, and I'm kind of tired of just yeah, I just want my full THC. I want to grow the medicinal cannabis plants that I want to do with what I want to make medicine for myself and my family.
So we're not talking about commercial growing. I'm sure the commercial growing for cannabis is probably pretty restrictive as well in Colorado. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm working on having my own 6 plants this year too, and I'm really excited about it.
It's gonna be awesome.
A lot of ways that's what legalization is about, is that freedom to just hang out with her in your backyard. I'm really looking forward to that. So through that, I mean, now, so you've gone from creating your own body cream, edible body cream, to 6 plants in your backyard. That's like,
yeah, kind of, yes. I mean, in one sense, and also I have a hemp cookbook coming out this summer. So I've been working on that since 2014, like just hitting it really hard at different times. And I'm in a place where I'm transitioning, kind of pivoting from being the CEO of my own product line and everything that kind of came with that, and doesn't really feed my own vibe,
that's what I was trying to get to, is that it's like, okay, you've had all these opportunities, done the company, done this, and now you're choosing to kind of like, let me hone in here, get back to, what is this about? Getting back to the plant, like literally getting back to the plant. And that, when we think of how we build our future, right? I think in a lot of industries, we think, oh, we gotta it's the skyscraper. And what I really love about the journey of this plant is it's not the skyscraper. That's not success with this plant, and as women, we have this great opportunity to show that success can be growing 6 plants in your backyard,
Sure.
that there's a lot to that. What are some of the obstacles that you came up against through building your own company that helped you get to a place where, because I mean, you're glowing, you look vital, you look happy and joy. The world is going through a horrific time. I'm worn down. You look like you're got way more energy than I do. So you're obviously making really good choices for yourself. So what are some of the obstacles that you've had to go through as a CEO of your own company to get to that? Before we got on air, you said, I'm really grounded and ready.
Yes. So there have been, I feel like thank you so much for everything you just said. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the hurdles and the obstacles have been like extremely painful ones, heart-wrenching shit where you didn't even know people do what they do and for money. And a lot of times it's money that doesn't even exist. It's like these projections from hell that people operate on in the industry is really fucked up. It's a really unprofessional way to run an industry, honestly, is this makeup money, all this stuff. So I've been through lots of pain. I've had my heart broken many times. And on the other side of it, though, is like this really crazy PhD in business that you can't even pay for. You can't pay for any of the stuff that I've been through, and that I'm really using now as tools to like Aikido to like flip the energy. But certainly people not coming through, that's been another one. Most of the obstacles have been humans. The plant itself just wants to grow. Like it's an easy plant to grow. It's a great companion plant. The plant's amazing. It's been the humans that have been all the obstacles, hurdles, disappointments, disrespect, disregard has all come from humans. So that's been really interesting. And I think, and also honestly, like dealing with a lot of men has been hard. And especially when you have a sex cream and you're a chef and you didn't even mean to do that. And all of a sudden you're like at expos talking to people about sex cream, and it's like, oh my goddess, like just the way people treated me, men have treated me in business. I started in the industry with a partner that was male, who was my partner. And so going through that whole thing, and then being on my own now and having a lot of these experiences, and like also, you know, being treated a certain way for being a woman, where, you know, like when my cream has come up and we're talking about serious conversations around investment, ownership, contracts, all these things. And it's like, then people bring up like the cream and something that's like sexual harassment, nasty all day long. And I'm like, wow, like just learning the difference between personal and professional is something that's been like beaten into my psyche through cannabis, because so many people are not professional.
I love that you said that. I want to understand more of what, because I'm learning those boundaries myself, but I'm a very personal person, right? And I think you are too. I think vibrationally, most of us around the plant are very tune into other people, connect with each other. But there isn't always, you sometimes, not sometimes, many times you have to conduct business with people that you don't necessarily want to integrationally vibrate with, right? And so how do you, in your own person, how do you determine that? How do you keep business separate from that? What does that mean? Like I now have a sacred circle. My sacred circle, they're my business and my friends, because they can know all parts, right? And it's really hard to be my friend if you can't understand my business, because it's so much of what I am is what I do. I love what I do. So what are some tips for us women? Because we care, right? We nurture our businesses. You know, it's much like how people I've never been married, but it's much like marriage and raising a child to me. And I find it so bizarre that we're supposed to separate ourselves in that. But I also now understand the reality. And so how are you managing that for yourself?
Well, again, I found that it wasn't really linear as much as it's been, you know, like some of these are just like lessons of my life, you know, as like someone in their mid 40s, where it's like, holy shit, this is like, I didn't even know like boundaries. That's an amazing word with a few syllables, and it's really healthy. And I've also had a heartbreak in this personal, like people who like, you know, we don't know each other. We meet each other through the industry. We become personal. We like smoke together. We've been at a bar together and like seen music together and bumped booties and stuff. And then it's like, you know, something goes down and it's like, people are not acting professional. People like, some of the behavior has been so insane. And I do find that some of these players are the same players. They have this reputation with people in general, and they're starting to stain so many things that, you know, like that kind of stuff kind of rolls with you, you know? So, but for me, it's been like, again, like this, I have had heartbreak through this, where it's like, oh man, you know, like I've had people talk to me like men and also women, like around, I've found lots of narcissists are unfortunately in the industry, lots of ego. So like, you know, having like ego death matches, you know, like in 2018, some stuff. And I was like, broke my heart, to now being like, bye, Felicia. That's how I deal with it. I deal with it by being like, if I even like, I use all my senses, because I've been in meetings before where I'm like, oh my gosh, like goddess, all the hair on my back is standing up. I wouldn't like get in a car with that guy. I wouldn't want my kid to buy ice cream from him. Like, he is so sketchy. He's got a bad vibe, you know? And other people being like, shh, just do the meeting. No one asked you, just do it. This is big money. Like, kind of stay in your lane and keep your mouth shut, you know? And trying to balance that with being like, no, I'm going to trust my own intuition above all else. I don't need to ask 100 people what they think at this point. I know better than anyone. I trust my own common sense, even around COVID, just really coming into that goddess energy and being like, I'm the one who's going to make the decisions. I'm going to trust that last instinct that makes me human is like what people say, the hair on your back, which is your intuition, which is a vibration, you know, and being like, whoa, that's bad, honoring that. And then when these things happen with personal, like when people have gone off and been unprofessional, like they're cussing, they're out of control. And I'm like, this is not professional. Or like something's happening with social media. And I'm like, this is not how people, you are so unprofessional, but I know you can't change people. So I can only change myself and just go out with the high vibe. And a girlfriend of mine that I really love is like, let's like fly high and lay low, girlfriend. And I'm like, yeah, fly high, lay low. That's where I'm at, you know?
I like that saying, fly high, lay low. I'm going to start using that. I say right and tight, but I like the fly high better. It sounds more fun. A lot more fun. So what are some of the, you know, before we got on, we talked about, you know, that you have a practice. That's a huge tool for me in my ability to navigate. But let's go into that more. Like what are some of those tools that you've discovered that help you navigate? Like, let's talk about narcissism. That is a very huge vibration in our industry, men, women. You know, I've been in moments where I'm very narcissistic myself, you know. And how have you, in your own personal journey, navigated through that, and how, and what tools do you use now to be like, you know, you talked about all your senses, you know, so you feel this, you sense this moment, so you're in the middle. What are some of those tools that help you navigate that besides your senses, or maybe go into those senses?
Well, I mean, as a chef, it's like everything in the kitchen, everything that comes together is going to have an imprint on the food that I make, you know? So when I'm bringing that analogy in, like I am using all my senses. That's like, I think that's really important for us. And I kind of keep coming back to that. Like, how do things feel? Like, is something making me feel shitty? Like, do I feel bad? Like really checking that and then being like, look, but I'm really also, the other side of that is like, I'm really into shadow. I'm really into looking at shadows, especially during this COVID shit is like, it's revealing all the shadows. If you pay attention right now, it is dark, but like like it's the Kali Yuga right now. It's like,
Yep.
It's really crazy energy time. So if you look, there's a lot of dark shit going on. If you can like really look into that and be like, holy shit, like that is just darkness. Like anytime I'm like, because I am a codependent person, which has the dance with the narcissist. But I know that now because I believe I spent a lot of time, you know, with people who are narcissistic and my wanting to still please them and everything. And I don't really do that anymore. It's like, does this kind of like to the, like a new kind of 4 agreements. Like, do I feel good from this exchange?
Ooh.
Question mark. Do I feel like this person's feeding my vibe? Question mark. Do I feel like this person's like uplifting me or making me feel down? Question mark. Like, so I'm always doing that work now. And it is a lot of shadow and really looking at it. And sometimes being like, okay, well, like back to your point, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to maybe necessarily vibe with everyone I do business with. This is something that's a big part of capitalism. People just do what they got to do a lot for work. And I'm honestly more and more less interested in that. I'm less interested in working with people. It's like, it used to be like, that's my friend Joe. He's an asshole, you know? And it's like, well, no, but Joe's an asshole, you know? So I'm kind of like into really keeping it real, working with people who have an integrity, and then just passing the other people in the left lane. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what we're being asked right now is which lane do we want to be in at the moment, you know? And there is a lot of unveiling happening in this. So in that, you mentioned that you're writing a book. What are some of the ways, I mean, COVID is just a big hurdle for a lot, you know? It's harder to go to the store. It's harder to, you know, there's a lot, I'm not even going to start, but there's so many hurdles. How are you using this time, or are you using this time to to get further in your goals around your business. Or, you know, for me, I mean, I see self-development as a big part of business for me. But it's also, this time has really allowed me to hone in and come to some places and some projects that I've been pushing really hard in, and having this space has kind of helped me push through that. And I'm curious as to how the rest of us are working through all that. Well, what has it been like for you around the industry?
Well, it's been interesting. I feel like I've like learning, it's like surfing, lots of surfing kind of, you know, a vibration, but certainly, I mean, for the last couple years, almost as soon as it started, my cream company wasn't like feeding my vibe. My new company is called Feed Your Vibe, right? It's all about that. Like, what's the vibe, and how are we gonna, you know, what do we want to give our energy to, like our precious prana and our chi and all that. And so prior to this, it's been like this, you know, like letting this layer slough off me of something where everyone else is like, you should totally just go crush that. And it's like, that's not like what I want. It doesn't like feed. I did like had a coach, and one of the things she taught me was, does it feed your soul? Does it feed your family? And does it feed your ego? So the last couple of years, I've been like sloughing off things that don't work. You know, does it feed my soul? Does it feed my family with money and stuff? And does it feed my ego? And I feel like in the cannabis space, again, it's like the ego is really a dark, is an interesting shadow, watching people, because it's a very ego dominated industry, right? And so it's like, yeah, it feels cool to be like, yeah, the first hemp sex cream, oh my God, like, you know, like, I love that, that's great. But like, it didn't really feed, it's not really feeding my really, really care about. And so with COVID, you know, are you there? With COVID, I felt like, you know, and I was ramping up for this big, big tour for my cookbook and all the stuff I was doing and all these events I had, many dozens of events in all these different places, and it all just came to a grinding halt. It's just poof, it's just gone, you know, poof. And so I was kind of proud of myself for not having like lots of like pity parties and woe is me, because I was the only one who's going to go, that and my dog, you know. So I was like, I took like a week where I was like, I think really sad and scared. Like, holy shit, you know, if my monkey mind gets away from me, I'm not using the tools and practices that I have. I could be like in a fetal position waiting for the, you know, the mango to drop that's going to like kill the whole world and all this. So it's like, did that for a week. And then I just kind of like downshifted my stick shift into like almost first gear, drop the clutch. But I was like, man, I'm going to really hone in right now to like reevaluate, ground, and choose, and just stay on course. And also, you know, how do we thrive from home? Right?
Yeah.
What do we have that people want? So there's been lots of like reevaluating and then sloughing off. Like right now I'm selling like all my formulations, all the intellectual product I've created, trademarks, URLs, all of that around cannabis. I'm just kind of letting it go as I pivot to the cookbook, which is, you know, really spreading the gospel of hemp as like a high vibe food. That's like what I'm working on still. I feel like I could still do that from here, mostly here, until I can get out more into the world. But creating content around plants and food and everything, that's what I'm up to. And I honestly don't have enough hours in the day. Plus I got this little farmette and we're growing plants and medicine, and there's all kinds of stuff to do. And I'm feeling really grateful for the opportunity that I even have the choice, you know?
Yeah, I think we have a new commodity now soon, and it's called self-sustainability.
Totally. Like for real.
It is for real. It is for real. You know, if you can't provide it, you probably are not going to have it. And I have hope for us as a culture as far as that, because there's a lot of us of that homestead mentality across the world. And we've been really disvalidated by where technology has built, because it's built in industry not to help that sustainable model. And this impact is really going to create, I think, a lot of gear shifting towards how do we use all this science and all this technology in ways that we really can build innovative systems that support not just humans, but support life, right?
Right.
So we could keep on moving on. So your book, let's dive into your book. So it's a cookbook.
Yeah. It's also a call to action. It started out with, I had a goal and something in mind, and I was really sure of all of that, and I had been planning it for years, and just getting on the journey is like, now it's really evolved into something else, and I'm like super stoked for when we launch and share it with everybody, because I think it's a call to action. It's badass. It's super smart. The recipes in there are really fun. I'm Persian. There's like lots of Fertile Crescent nerdy little things in there. It's not like sprinkling hemp seeds. Like, it's pretty deep, and I'm excited for that. That's later this summer.
Can you tell, you probably want to wait to tell us your call to action, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay. So what is your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing to make, I was raised like with what I call like intuitive cooking. Like, we didn't have a recipe. My mom is from Iran. I'm first generation. She just like watched her do everything. And so I love to make Middle Eastern food and like Mediterranean cuisine. That's like certainly one of my specialties, is a gift of mine. I'm really good at it, and I love that. But I'm also like have become a baker in the last 10 years, and baking, it's like very like, you have to have this and scientific, and there has to be the soda or it won't work. And so I've kind of, right now, my favorite food, a lot of it is baking, because I feel like it's a really good time to like call in your inner witch and like infuse the baking. Like, people like love is like a comfort food. So I feel like just like loving into the baking and like giving it a good vibe. That's like one of my favorite things right now.
So you are much like the chef in, was it like Water for Chocolate? Is that the right movie?
Chocolat.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, I just read it again. It's
oh,
so
right on. I never read the book, but I did get to see
good.
the movie.
Yeah, like alchemy around food and plant medicine. That's like right behind me is like my whole big larder and lots of herbs and medicine. And those are some of my favorite things. But the baking, there's lots of baking in the book, and lots of really yummy, high vibe, delicious, comforty kind of baked stuff with hemp in it.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
Thank
I don't
you.
cook much these days, but I still, my son wants to learn how to cook. So he and I can make some stuff together out of it.
Yeah.
So this is, a mixed group, women empowered in cannabis. We have women who were deep in the black market, and we have women, that were in corporate jobs coming into cannabis. So I always like to kind of speak to those two groups of women in particular for our group. What is some advice that you have for women, a woman who is watching this and is maybe a chef and is never engaged in cannabis, but goes, wow, I am really inspired by this medicine, and now I can see maybe I should start weaving this into what I do for my business and my passion. What is some advice you would have to someone who is a chef or in really in their lane of whatever marketing, whatever that may be, but is now ready to be a part of this plant journey we're all
on? My guidance on that would be to go for it, to really ground and to hone in, because some of the problem for myself and others that I know, and I think when you're a creative in general, sometimes is like, there are so many things that like I can crush. I'm good at like a bunch of shit. you know? So, but that doesn't really help me out, actually. What helps me is to like ground down and niche and be super sure and super clear. And it might be that you can really rock three things, but like, what's your favorite? What's going to feed your soul? What's going to feed your ego? And what's going to feed your family too at the end of the day? Like, how can we, especially now after COVID, it's like, I mean, I'm imagining there's a lot of people out there who are like, fuck my job. My job sucks. I was dying and I was waiting for this other day when I was going to start living. And like, it's right now. It's so right now. So I would say go for it. Number one. Number two, I would say ground and be really clear and commit. And then I would say, like, I just believe there's room in the industry. So what I've seen is people, you know, in order for someone to believe you are something, there's only one person who has to believe it. That's you. So people have done that a lot. They're like, oh, I'm a cannabis model. And they're like smoking weed in their panties and someone's giving them money for that. You know, like just putting their flag in there and saying, hey, I'm this. Some of it's more ludicrous than others, but at the end of the day, it's like, I think that there's space. And I think that it's really important for the women on this group and all women to really give other women that space to come in and to invite them in. Because infighting and like all this kind of personal, professional stuff I was talking about before, social media, all this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. So if you want to get in, go for it. Be smart and just crush.
Yeah, you know, I have a couple girlfriends that have, including yourself now, that we have like similar products, similar vibes.
Sure.
Yet when you look at us on the shelf, it's so diverse. And there's no way that one of us can teach all the lessons this plant has to teach. You know, through our branding, through our product development, there's so much that needs this plant medicine that those of us that are here now, we all really need to work together because we've got some serious power. You know, we have some serious opportunity when we do that. And there is, as you said, Shadi, this is what I say, is I say, you see my hands, see my body, look at all this going on. Well, here's the cannabis industry. It's the tip of my nail. This is when it's fully integrated. This whole body of systems of things is how it's going to impact us. And that's a lot of room. And we're not there yet. You know, our country, our world needs to be built better. And this plant and all of us, folks like you, we know how to build those values that are needed. And I think we're not there yet. So as women, it's our turn to lead, it seems like. There's a lot of female leadership happening. And that gives us a real opportunity to decide to be leaders in our garden if we want to, or the boardroom if we want to, right?
For sure. Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
As
it should be, absolutely. So we also have, you know, some pretty hardcore farmers that have been multi-generational, and that still right now is a hard transition. You know, I think all angles of this industry will be for quite a while because we're just babies. But what kind of, you know, advice do you have for women that have been in the ground of literally or in that marketplace that are deciding that they don't want that anymore and that they want to find a new avenue?
I mean, I'm all about that. I think that that's one of the ways that we could really like honor ourselves and have like integrity first. Like, I mean, it just goes back to the basic stuff. Like self-love is like key. You know, you have to love yourself because everything is a projection is what I've been figuring out as I'm getting older. Everything is a projection. So it's like, let's project that onto ourselves. And part of that is like honoring ourselves, you know. And I mean, I'm a mom of 3 kids, which I love with like my whole world. And then I have my own world too. And so like really like paying homage to like what we want. Our life is short and getting shorter, and the world's gone crazy. So it's time to really honor what it is that we want to do. And also, you know, we can overthink and ask everybody else, but really we all know what's best for us. If we like really can tune in and be quiet and listen, we have the information. So I would just really encourage all women to, now more than ever, and moms and not moms, but women in general and in the industry, to just pay attention to themselves and what it is that they want and how they want to spend the rest of their lives, no matter what age they are, you know, and go for it.
Yeah. How do you want to spend the rest of your lives? I like that. I think we're getting an opportunity to really ask ourselves that. You know, there's going to be a lot more work from home opportunities. That's for sure. That's going to empower a lot of moms, you know, a lot of women, I think, and give us the opportunity to kind of creatively build in our own spaces, right? Like lunch break. Oh, well, I'm going to go do some energy dance.
A little booty yoga. Yeah.
Woo, yeah, a little something.
That's what
I
I
love
love.
it. I do too. I was looking at this thing online, and it was this great desk, you know, and it was promoting, oh, now everybody's working at home. And I was like, damn, if they would have created that 10 years ago, I would have been doing awesome with my back injury. So I think we're gonna, as women being at home, we're gonna be more comfortable with that in a lot of ways, and need to be strong for our counterparts, I think, around that, and that this is okay and you're okay, even though it's not what that external validation of being okay. We are okay.
Of course. And just lastly on that, I just wanted to add that I think it's a really an important time to like reevaluate currency. Just in general, like what is currency? You know, I mean, like lately, like, you know, I'm Persian, so like I love a bazaar and a good trade. Like it's like in my genes, right? Like I love that. But it's like really important, I think, now more than ever to be like, what do I have that's of value? You know, like it's not like getting in a car and spending 45 minutes and like suffering and then sitting in some shitty cubby and then like getting back home. Like I think it's a really great time for us to see what do we have of value so that we can make that into currency, so that we could trade that too, you know, especially in this time when I think the whole economy is being reevaluated, you know.
Absolutely. I before this happened, I was having some really heartbreaking discussions with a lot of farmers worried about losing their lands because of cannabis. And it was now, and in those discussions, it was like, but you have land, you can grow food, and all these things are happening. Now our lifestyle matters. And some of, you know, and now everyone, we're valuing that we have land, that we can grow food, that we can work together. I think you're right. There's a huge shift in what is valuable. You know, what makes you valuable? What are those things? A lot of awakenings happening. So what is your plan for, I usually say for the next year? It's hard to plan for the next year right now, but what are some of the dreams that you're trying to create in the future?
Well, I like this idea of the planning because I figured out through this process, like I am a really big planner. I like a plan. It's part of my survival structure. As you know, like how am I gonna, like, what am I looking forward to? What am I planning on? What am I working on? Like that really feeds me, makes me feel safe, especially when the world's out of control. And so, you know, a lot of the things I wanted to do required being with other people and like cooking for them and getting on a plane and doing all that. And so that is gone. And so what I am doing is just empowering myself with the things that I can control for today and for the next few months into the next year, whatever, is like these 3 things that I'm working on right now, which is like being the best mommy that I can be right now, like being really present for my kids. It's like matters more to me than anything else. My second thing is like radical self-care, because usually I've been on the you know, the kind of non-existent part of the stick where it's like after 3 people, and before that it was like men and the kids and like even the dog, you know, like it's like Shadi's been last, so like Shadi's right up there now after this, after the kids and being present. It's just radical self-care. making sure I'm doing my things. Like I already crushed my day by the time I talked to you at noon. Like if I didn't do anything else, I would have already accomplished all the things that like feel really good to my body, my mental health, and like my spirit. Like already taking care of that. That was like the first thing I did at 7 o'clock, you know, even like some things I was doing at 6:15. So I like already crushed that. And then the third thing is my cookbook and spreading the gospel of hemp from wherever I am. You know, one day it'll be at my big farm dinner. Right now it's from my house, and how, you know, how people can like really like revitalize themselves right now by eating plants and eating cannabis and really spreading the word from wherever where I am. Those are my three things.
Well, those are beautiful dreams. They are. And I can't wait to see the realities behind them. It's a good day for manifestation energy too. So bravo. Well, Shadi, I have enjoyed your wisdom. I've enjoyed connecting with you and learning about, we didn't even talk about conscious capitalism.
I know.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that, because that's really, how I believe is part of that natural cycle of building your business and using those sustainable philosophies to build through innovation, technology, science, whatever that innovation is. But we do need to change and grow as a human race. So let's talk about that. You're doing a project around that.
Well, I'm working on really spreading the word on that and really getting the information out there, especially right now. I think that's a really important time. I think that, I mean, you know, even certainly in the cannabis space, you know, I've had lots of really uncomfortable discussions with people putting on events. Like after an event, it's like, holy shit, we all flew there. These guys didn't even have recycling. They're serving shit through styrofoam. And then it's like, hey, I feel like you guys really missed the mark here, you know, and the people who are nice enough to talk about it, and they're like, well, that was the catering company, or we did the best we could. And it's like, no, man, we really need to do fucking better right now. We don't have time to do better. We need to show up for the planet right now. We need to, I mean, most people, I mean, if self-proclaimed leaders in the industry, like honestly, they misuse and abuse the word sustainable so much. It's like, it's one of the, like, really makes me cranky, because it's,
oh, shoot, I lost you. Oh, Shadi, I lost you. Let's give it a minute. I wanted to hear that too. Can you hear me?
I can now.
There you are. Okay. So we lost you. You were kind of, I think, going into the conscious capitalism a little bit. You know, could you really briefly kind of give what that means to you? I think that's basically what you were saying in that moment.
Yeah, I think that conscious capitalism is a huge and massive paradigm shift to the current capitalist system that exists today. I believe that conscious capitalism is grounded in integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking, and really showing up in a capitalistic structure that currently exists. I think that conscious capitalism is when we're not, you know, misusing and abusing the term sustainability at all. Like, in order for something to be sustainable, it has three components. It's economic, ecological, and social equity. Period. Most of the people, certainly in hemp, like they're saying it again. There they go again. Like, they're lying. They are lying, and they're misusing it. And it's like, no. How much are you? I mean, I want to spread the word about that right now like a wildfire. And I think one of the things I didn't get to say was about people coming in the industry, and certainly those that are currently in it, is like really having integrity with the plants. And people talk about elevate. And it's like, no, let's really elevate. Let's elevate so that we are working in honor of the plant. We're not exploiting her. We're not lying. We're not doing all the dirty things that we know is a huge part of the industry right now. and show true leadership in the cannabis industry right now by evaluating in terms of a conscious capitalistic framework, which many of us, when we really take a look at it, are going to fail. Like if you're buying ingredients from China, that is anti-conscious capitalism. If you are putting some hemp sex cream that you're going to put in your body in a plastic container, bye Felicia. If you are, like we need to really show up right now and do the right thing. And so I'm fired up about it. And I think that people need to really be talking about it, and that we need to hold each other accountable. This is one of my major, this has been an industry I've been a part of.
We lost
related things. It all goes back to, like regenerative ag. That's another thing I keep seeing abused, and people are misusing it. And I think it's really the time to, when we're in a place where we have a lot of time on our hands to think, then we should think about all of this ethical supply management. How are we paying our team? How do we treat our team? What's the environmental and economic impact of every decision that we make? And those answers usually are hard to deal with. But I think that it is the time to do that.
It is. I think we're seeing that it is actually how you win long game. The rest falls apart. I think we're being shown that not just in our industry, but obviously everywhere right now. Well, Shadi, it was amazing. I'm glad we got to talk about that part. That was one of my favorite things to talk about around what you're doing. And there was just so much other great stuff to talk to you about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And, good luck on your brand and what you're doing with it. And you're looking forward to sell the licensing, correct? Is that correct?
Well, that's just for this other IP I've created, like all my body care. I have like over 24 vessels that I've created for cannabinoid infusion, from body care to like amazing stuff for my dog, like everything in between, all kinds of vegan, gluten-free cookies to infuse that are like very small amount of ingredients. They're always vegan. They're always gluten-free. They're super delicious. Like that's what I have. And those are the things that I'm looking to move on to people who want to have a product, don't want to reinvent the wheel, or to have some, that's what I'm doing with that.
Okay, we lost you on part of that, but why don't you, before we get cut out again, give where we can find you to find out more about what's going on and about those products.
Awesome. People could connect with me at Shadi Ramey, ShadiRamey.com, and fill out a little inquiry form and tell me what they're interested in, and then have some information to just follow up with them. Like I have a really serious deck on basically the framework, what I'm doing and selling, and then more information after people are really serious. And because I've made a lot of big mistakes, like hard lessons, I don't just wait. I have no time to waste. So I'm only interested in talking to people who are serious and want to make shit happen.
Right on. That's how it should be for all of us, huh?
That's right.
Well, have a beautiful rest of your day. And any last words you want to say to anyone watching?
I just want to thank you so much for having me on and for taking the time on every Sunday to empower women and have these conversations and really, I think, elevate the community. So thank you so much for that.
Bless your heart, sweetheart. I appreciate it. I get as much of this, maybe more than anyone else out of it, frankly. It helps my week a lot. I feel empowered by each of you that come on here. And I feel really grateful, actually, that you ladies feel this is valuable enough to take your time out on kind of our one down day a week. So thank you. And thank you everyone who does take their time to watch these. And we'll see you next week. I can't remember who's on. I better not say because I can't remember, but I do know we got a great lineup coming up this month. And I look forward to all the conversations. And have a beautiful rest of your day. I am sending all of you healing love and many blessings.
Blessings. Peace.
Bye.